Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Guest today is Aarti Saxena. Aarti, please tell us where you are in the world and what you do for a living.
Hey, Matt. So this is Aarti, and I am connecting here from Bangalore, India. Yeah, I've been working on the wellness space, health and wellness space. There's since the last 2 years, and I'm the founder of this hydration drink brand that we have just launched 10 days back. So the brand is called ILU, ILU, which stands for I Light You. So, it's a hydration beverage with electrolytes as our hero ingredients. And we are ditching all the sneaky and guilt building stuff. So there's no sugar, there's no sneaky fillers that are, high in glycemic index. So the entire story is like around hydration as a very core foundational health need. And how I'm looking at this brand is making it more fun, vibrant, lively, and that's where the name is like trying to build a very energetic vibe around the brand, right? Like as far as the formulation and everything is concerned, there we are very serious. So we are very, very particular about getting the right stuff in and making it really power packed in terms of health, so that any health and wellness seeker can go to this beverage for their hydration needs. And when we're talking about India, where, after the pandemic, of course, it's a global thing. Same as what we are seeing over here. Nobody was thinking that much about taking care of their health and well-being. And it's become such a pillar right now in terms of everybody's mind. But I think people are still struggling to get the right things, the right rituals into their lifestyle. So that's what I'm building. So I've been passionate about the health space for right from childhood. So, somewhere around in the family, something was going, one of my uncle was into the preventive healthcare space. So being a doctor, he started the ketogenic and weight loss for preventive method 15-20 years back. I have been into meditation since long back. So when I started thinking about what idea to work on, it was somewhere around the pandemic. Before that, I have been into the design and brand and community space. So some 7-8 years I was into film production design with Indian film production houses, and with that I got the privilege to work with directors, global directors, DOPs, how they think about what storytelling is. It was a very cool. A very fun, exciting. Yeah, it was a very cool journey, 7-8 years, and being an architect and being surrounded with tech people. After that, I was a part of a founding team member of interior design SaaS startup. So that's also based in the US. So we were building a lot of communities with US and Europe based influencers in addition to the Indian community. So, taking all my design experience, all those packed design and trend and brand experiences, that I took to this second stint of mine where you were, I was a part of the product and community and social building that from 0 to 1 with them. That was an exhilarating experience. It was being a startup, a part of a startup founding team, you feel like it's your own startup, you get that feeling, almost feel like being very connected to the founders and everybody. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean that those were my initial experiences. But as I told you, health and wellness has been close to me. So I used to meditate from a very early age. So, all those things are I've always known the importance of health and wellness. It all converged during the pandemic peak period where a lot of things were happening around me, my family, friends, circles. I'm sure has been the case for everybody. And that's when apart from design, my second best, something I would feel close to where I could spend years building, was health and wellness. And I think nutrition, food is something that becomes a foundation of mental health as well, right? So I started building those, I started connecting those dots over there. Why not do something in the first taking care of your health space? And that definitely trickles down. So, what I also see for the brand is also standing for embracing your emotions, embracing happiness, being in that high vibe kind of a state. while taking care of your health. So yeah, I mean, that's sort of the picture. Currently, it's been interesting. We have just launched and we started like gaining great interest because I started building with, like I had built with having my first initial 100 customers on board with flavors testing and with what kind of formulation they are looking for, what's their lifestyle like, they into fasting, are they into workouts, what is it that they were missing in this beverage assortment that we have over here.
That's amazing. So you're kind of using your first 100 customers here to kind of like try to carve out and just understand like who your real ideal customer is going to be going forward.
Right. I'll also make them like, a part of, and like I started with engaging my circle of friends as well as co-workers who like I've worked with all over these years. So like I started getting a lot of really amazing insights. It has been built organically that way. For example, like I want to target it to a younger audience because, that's where, because these young hustlers, so Gen Z and millennial, a combination of both, that's where, like the need comes in of bringing convenience also to health.
Yeah. And I think some of the younger people, especially Gen Z and younger millennials, were some of the most affected by COVID because, they were kind of we were like, I'm a younger millennial, almost in Gen Z. And I know like my life was basically turned upside down at that time. I mean, like I was just kind of getting started with my career. And I had to pivot just like a lot of business owners had to pivot into something totally different. So I think there's a lot of some of the younger folks are actually most affected and had to make some of the biggest like personal changes in their lives that were like just kind of like starting to set off on their lives and their careers. So yeah, it's an interesting demographic to talk about targeting with marketing because it's so diverse and it's so ever changing. And I just feel like there's a lot of uncertainty in the minds of like younger folks, like younger millennials and Gen Z. So I think people like this kind of like breath of fresh air marketing where it's like very like uplifting. And so I like that. I think that makes sense. And I saw you were I was taking a look at your LinkedIn and I saw you were at a direct to consumer kind of conference recently or a speakership maybe or something. Is that kind of where you're starting with the launch? Are you starting doing direct to consumer online or what are you kind of thinking there?
So Matt, they're like about this event, right? It's a community called D2C Insider where they bring in, it's like a culmination of direct to consumer founders, enablers, right? People meeting together and building stuff. Another thing that's happening amazingly, that's really catching up is India has had this Shark Tank season 3 just recently.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's like
the
early phases of Shark Tank entrepreneurs. So there's a lot of excitement around building new consumer brands. So I was a part of this D2C Insider conference and, like I won as a second, like our brand won as the second prize over there. Like there were investors, there were VCs over there, there were enablers, as well as they were like, it was a great meetup of like a 200 people gathering. So it was a great beginning. So we launched and then we had this and now we are gathering some amazing interest within the founder and the urban working professional kind of audience, and that's where it starts. Another thing is like I told you, right, Shark Tank is building up, so it's like everybody now wants to apply their ideas, they want to put it into action. So that's what the entire scene is. We won like a credit kind of a prize over there, so it's like it helps you build the right community, the right folks getting in, and like some initial angel investment kind of interest also building up over there. So that was really great for the brand because what I've been privileged to be a part of a startup founder community, like within my friend circle. So even my husband is a startup founder, a lot of our friends are there. So what's happening with these kind of meetups and conferences and like building with the investors and enablers along the line is like you are able to do it in a much faster way, right? And because like for example, right now it's the peak summer, right? And we have launched. So my idea is to like bring in the community as soon as possible because people are looking for it, right? So it's like it's a great way to sort of build in a collaborative way. So a lot of brands are like activewear brands are now partnering up with food and beverage brands. So that kind of, and then there's this wave of like fitness workshops. So there are different brands coming up in various spaces. So it's like a culmination of these kind of new age consumer brands that the country wants. So that's the entire scene, which is quite exciting over here.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I'm curious, like talk about your first 100 customers and getting feedback. What kind of feedback have you been getting? I mean, surely it's been mostly positive, but like anything interesting that maybe you weren't expecting as far as, customer feedback goes?
So yeah, I mean, what's interesting is that the drink that we have, the formulation that we have, it's like more enhanced version of things that were there in the past. As far as electrolytes as a supplement is concerned, it was looked at as from a lens of when, you need to have it when you're sick or again, like only the word sports drink, right? Like you are only targeting it to a sports based audience, which is like not everybody right now has you are having something cool.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is that people across the sectors are like people who are trying various stuff, like people are being active, people have started losing weight, intermittent fasting just as a health focus cognition standpoint, electrolytes from a cognition standpoint. So what I'm seeing is that it's like getting these insights from where now people want more from the food and beverage that they are having from a functional perspective. So that's an interesting feedback I'm getting in terms of, another thing is that since it's a zero sugar brand, so that palate develops over time. But what's really interesting is, like you said, right, the younger folks they've seen the worst of it, right? I mean, we have all seen the worst of it, and now so people are already somewhere on their path to quitting sugar, for example, reading labels. There are a lot of influencers over here, somebody called Food Farmer, who's like educating people, just turn the packet and read it. So now that people know what these ingredients are, even like, the chemical terminologies, now people are educated about it. So what I'm seeing as an interesting thing is that, so now I can cater to them with a product which has actually sort of gone an upgraded level in terms of, they would be able to see what's different about the product, which otherwise wouldn't have happened, right? Like that education has been amazing. So that's interesting. And again, like in terms of how they want to be associated with a brand, their values, how they want to be associated with a brand as a community. So that's some interesting stuff. Like very quickly, people have started talking to me and sort of collaborating with me with a lot of feedback. So yeah, I mean, that's, I think, pretty interesting in terms of what I'm seeing right after the launch. Like, I would say it's been an overwhelming response, like, because like I'm gathering all this information which has been coming at a very fast pace, even from the, investor community. I think that now they've realized that this is something that is very needed, very well needed. I think for a long time we have seen, I think that's something that has been a wave in the US as well, right? We have seen more of junk food brands associated with happiness. So brand like ours and few others, what we are trying to do is associate that same fun and excitement with a healthy product, and make it tasty, but in terms of the taste also, it's like tasty but not addicting, right? So have that balance and have people recognize that is something pretty exciting, is what I'm seeing right after the launch.
No, it's so true. It's like when you think about hydration products, like all you ever think about is the commercials, like the guy's sweating, he just ran a marathon, he's gonna chug his like Gatorade or whatever it is, or it's always like something like kind of like with like more specific purpose. But I think you're right. I think people are just looking for more kind of like functional things in their things when they're working from home or when they're just like doing their everyday business, not necessarily, you don't have to be a marathon athlete to have a nice electrolyte drink. Right. So no, I think that makes sense. And I wanted to ask too, I'm curious, I mean, I know there's a ton of English speakers in India. I see like, most of the marketing seems to be like kind of English centered. So are you looking to make more of a general like push into US and English speaking markets more than staying in the Indian market? Or I was just curious about that because I see a lot of Indian brands, they all have, at least an English website, but yours seems to be a little bit more centered around that. So tell me a little bit about your plans for penetrating English speaking markets. Yeah, tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I've been, like I've had some initial talks from the UAE market, because that becomes like as an ecosystem wise the like sort of the first step. And as well as I have been talking to my friends back in the US who have been telling me about like they work on a lot of like they have their jobs but they also do drop shipping and Shopify kind of side hustles along with it. So I think that's definitely something, because in terms of culture, what's happening is I think especially between India, like you said, right, India and US and English speaking countries, even UK for that matter, like for my previous company, Foyer, which is a design software. So, like it never seemed like we had to do sort of a segregation in terms of our messaging. In terms of like we used to do a lot of educative for a particular period of time, we were doing offline activities in real activities for like community building, but then we switched completely to digital, again pandemic being one major reason for that. Right. So I think it's very well aligned to the English speaking markets, right? And what I've been hearing from some of my folks at US is like it's a product which is sort of So how I look at it is that if you build something which is of a quality, there are few of tech and D2C products like wearables and things like that have gone global from India. One is called Ultra Human. So I mean, definitely open. It's like I'm focusing on it on a step-by-step basis. So it's like cover this region first, but how I'm building in terms of the community, the brand, the language, I think it's very aligned to what people are seeing back in the US. I'm not sure if you have seen the website. I think you have, right? So
I did,
the
yeah.
design, the brands, and so like my designers work with UK based companies. So my designers were Gen Z who have had a global experience in design. So I've onboarded people so that like they are my sounding board in terms of what's really trending globally in that sense. So yeah, I mean, definitely open to building synergies with US and UK kind of English speaking markets, as well as the Singapore and UAE markets. So I have had like some initial conversations with say investors and VCs, as well as people who are trying out their entrepreneurial hustles along these lines. But yeah, I mean, definitely a focus on what's there in short term and see how it grows to so like that way is like I have a lot of ideas in place in terms of the community building. Like I can see what it's going to look like 5 years down the line, and then you keep doing that stuff and see what happens.
Yep. Yeah. It's just one step at a time, though. It's like, I think that's a really healthy perspective because something like this, it's very exciting, and you're clearly already having some success. I think a lot of young entrepreneurs can get a little bit ahead of themselves and try to like get into too many markets and like have too wide of a reach too soon.
Right.
I think you have a great perspective.
The great part is that there's a great synergy between India and US. Like if you see YC companies, right, or generally like there are friends of mine who have started up in the US. So there are teams that are working together. So I think that way is like I have worked with interior design influencers based in US. So there's synergy. Like if you're following the process right, I think that can open up when things are picking up great, right? So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so let me ask you this. I'm curious, you obviously just did like a kind of first 100 customers, getting a ton of good feedback. So what are your kind of projections for 2024 as we go through in your first year launching? I mean, what revenue numbers looking like in your mind? If we were to speak again a year from now, where do you see a lot of these things with like, what markets you're in and how much growth you're experiencing?
I think what I project as, like from an Indian market revenue numbers, a sort of $1 million business in a year is
Amazing.
What I target at, right? And that can be done with the right distribution. So it's looking good in terms of having, I have those plans in place and speaking to distributors and getting in the funding in place. So that looks like a good target for first year, because within the first year, you also want to figure out a few of your foundational stuff, right? And then, I think from there, like we can look at growing it faster from there. So
that's awesome. And so what kind of like, I know you're obviously interested in, expanding into multiple markets down the line, or maybe even this year, like who knows how it goes, but
I mean, like I told you, right, I got some initial interest when I was building the brand from the UAE region, because they want to, again, another thing is the climate aspect, and that like globally we are seeing the hottest period. It's not like hydration is a hot weather need, but again, that's really adding up to the scenario over here. Right, so that interest, like somebody from US also told me that it's like very aligned in terms of product, and then you can. So what I feel is like have your supply. And another good thing is that within India there's a great background of nutraceutical, like in terms of supply chain. The partners that I have, they are already distributing globally. So and they have like. Their supply chains are really set over the years. Like they have been in the business for a very long time. So I made sure that so I in fact spend a lot of time to like work with 3 to 4 of them, and then sort of zeroing in on one person who's who's doing themselves great work. So I think that really adds in very well. So that way, if you like build something foundationally well, things can be scaled up then quickly, right?
Yeah, that's amazing. And so are you looking to do like doing best is kind of like direct to consumer versus like kind of other channels? What kind of channels are you planning on selling through this year, other than like obviously you sell direct through the website, but are you looking to get on Amazon? Are you looking to like make some wholesale deals? Like what does that kind of look like for you, that breakdown?
Yeah, so I think the most interesting channel has been quick commerce. So like quick commerce delivery apps, there are some 3 to 4 major players over there, and it's a grocery kind of item, right?
Right.
So like when you need it, you need it more instantly. So direct to consumer is what I currently have, because I have been able to connect with each and every customer pretty well for that, right? But the plan is to get to quick commerce, Amazon, and then start speaking to the retail distributors, start building relations with them, also understanding what they need. They need a set of kind of samplings. So like I won at this D2C event, right? And there I was able to do a lot of partnerships with people who are enablers, distributors who can, like also marketing automations, things like that. Bringing that in place and getting to quick commerce, Amazon, and building your channels deep into the distribution, the retail distributor relations. That's how it goes. So that's what I'm planning to follow also as a sequence, because it's also the consumer, in the consumer's mind right now, the grocery shopping is happening with these quick commerce platforms, and it's picking up really well. Amazon is something that's you have to be there. So like in terms of these online model, like the online platforms first, but I think I've already gotten interest from retailers, but I've spoken to them and told them that like, because in terms of volumes there's kind of, so what I want to do is do initial batch production, do quick iterations first, have some hero flavors and variants in place, and then look at offline. So maybe that is a longer term picture, but like really making the most of these 2 to 3 platforms. Your own website, quick commerce, and Amazon would be great for the initial I think 1 or 2 years completely focused on that.
Yeah,
So
D2C is so
that's
amazing.
where another, yes, another interesting thing is like building the relations with the influencers who have trust, right? So that's something that has to happen. So I don't want to put a number to that, but I know that that's really important, going to be really important doing from being day one, because they know that what are the real problems that people are facing, because their clients are facing some issues, and we could iterate along with that.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And I mean, it's hard to predict like how much you're going to do on one side of any of these, like, omni-channel things that you could go with Amazon, and, dozen channels you could go down and selling something like this. But the D2C channel is so amazing at the start, because you do get all the information, like you can connect directly with people and get that feedback. So I always love to see, brands like starting out with direct to consumer first. I think a lot of people can get they go into the wholesale a little too fast without necessarily having like a real community or getting enough feedback, like selling direct on the front end. So I think that's a really good perspective with what you're doing. I think that'll be really helpful. To just get a ton of feedback from thousands of people before you go and like sell it to a grocery store, and like be able to show them like here, like these are like the changes we made. This is the feedback that we've gotten. So like this, be able to work with people at a more from like a better standpoint. I think you
get customers for life from there, right? And
exactly.
They become your word of mouth channels later when you are finally in retail.
Yeah, exactly. Just want to give you an opportunity to anybody who's listening, just shout out your website, shout out your social media platforms. Anybody who's interested, they like you, they like the product, they want to stay in touch. People foaming at the mouth, waiting for it to come to the United States. They want to know when it's going to happen. Let people know how to keep in touch with you and keep in touch with the company.
Oh yeah. So the website is drinkilu.com, and same is the Instagram and all the other social handles. So we are like just in the process of building the social channel. So it's Drink ILU on Instagram, YouTube, and Meta. I also am pretty active on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is where I've been connecting with a lot of folks within this health and wellness space from India, from US, my like all the co-workers that I have worked with. So there is a pretty great network of like everybody combined. So I really see that also as a great place to connect. So yeah, it's AARTI SAXENA, Aarti Saxena at LinkedIn, wherein like I have put all the details of my website. Even the brand page is called Drink ILU, Drink ILU. So it's like the same thing on LinkedIn as well. So I think people would be able to see all the new stuff happening very soon in the coming few weeks over here. So I would absolutely love to connect with your community, because I was just looking at your podcast guests previously, and I think people have had really interesting journeys, right? And people have looked at like people have worked in depth, picking up like really being very close to a problem and then building around that. Even I think in the beverage space and other space, would absolutely be amazed to be pleased to be a part of your community.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Aarti. I really appreciate you coming on, and I think you'll have nothing but success here. I love your passion. I love how excited you are about everything. I think it's going to be great for you. I think you have a really great perspective on, so many aspects of this business. I think it would be great. I'd just say, like I said, any entrepreneur that's, building something at the younger stages like this, just keep going. I think it'd be fine.
Yeah. Great connecting.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Aarti. Thanks, everybody.